On this episode of That One Movie Podcast, we are going to review Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, as well as Rebel Moon Part 1, Child of Fire?
Ice and Fire.
Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah.
For both of those movies, we will start off spoiler-free, and then we will warn you before we dive into our spoiler reviews of each film. But beforehand, Holden, we need to talk about some news from this week in the world of entertainment. Holden, what are some of our stories?
Yeah, so we'll have an update on Scream VII, since that's been going through a lot of changes. We'll talk about the kind of final conviction, I guess, of Jonathan Majors. And we also have, we'll talk about Mickey Mouse entering the public domain this year.
Boy.
So.
Again, if you want to jump to any of those topics, use the time codes below. If you want to jump over those topics completely, right to our movie reviews, use the time codes down in the description, or stick around for the whole thing and enjoy the ride. Mm-hmm. All right, buckle up. I'm Jimmy Youthy.
I'm Holden Sutter.
And it's time for Tom.
Tom.
That One Movie Podcast.
Tom.
All right, Jimmy, before we talk about our movies of the week, let's do the Toms.
The Toms.
Toms is the rapid fire segment in which we rate the news of the week in the world of entertainment on a scale of three famous Toms: Brokaw, Bombadil, and Bergeron.
Brokaw's the highest.
Oh, yeah.
Bombadil's the lowest. And Bergeron is somewhere in between. I messed that up, and then I messed you up by messing it up.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay, Jimmy. No matter what,
We're a little rusty.
Let's get started. Yeah, we took a week off.
It feels like an eternity. We have not taken a gap week in so long.
It has. Yeah, I don't. Did we take one at all this last year? This might have been the first year we didn't take a gap week.
Except we did it at the very last week of the year.
Yeah, true.
We almost made it.
Yeah, we initially were gonna do Aquaman for last week, and then I think time just got out of hand. Really,
sometimes the holidays, it's just hard to do stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
And ultimately, it's probably better because if we were to have recorded it, would have been remotely, and that's always a bit more of a hassle.
Yeah.
So here we are in person. Aquaman 2 weeks after, and Rebel Moon a week after. So yeah. Let's get started with our Toms, Jimmy.
Yeah, let's get started with Toms.
Anyway, we have no trailers this week, except we will talk about Rebel Moon 2's trailer when we talk about Rebel Moon. So if you're interested in that, feel free to wait for that discussion. But first up, for actual news, we have Jonathan Majors. So kind of since earlier in the year, around March or so, he's accused of some things, and he went on trial in the fall and everything. But he was found guilty of reckless assault in the third degree and a charge of harassment as a violation. He was acquitted of another assault charge and an aggravated harassment charge. But regardless of all that, or I guess because of all of that, within an hour of the conviction, like I saw the news kind of break as it happened, and then within an hour, Disney publicly fired him. So he is officially no longer part of the MCU.
It would have been funny if it was a GIF of Trump on
You're fired. Yeah, that was all Disney said. Didn't even say to who. Everyone would have just known.
Yeah. Well, what a worst case scenario for Disney in this latest post Endgame phase of Marvel. I mean, honestly, how could it get much worse than literally the person you were propping up to be the next lead Avenger, the actor dying of cancer, and then your next big bad is a criminal.
Yeah, not a good person.
And you have to fire them. I'm starting to think that what if these things didn't happen?
Yeah.
For the Marvel movies, but things have really, really taken a turn for the worst for the MCU post Endgame, and as a comic book movie fans such as us, that's just a big bummer that this has to happen. Obviously, the victims involved, that's just awful. And, working in this industry is a privilege. And it appears Jonathan Majors did things in his life to have those privileges taken away. Which is, it's a shame that he has all this talent and he seemingly has thrown it away.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean we've spent a lot of this last year in several episodes of the podcast talking about like what they could potentially do, but now it's even more prudent because before it was like, I mean, we're 90% sure that it's probably they're gonna have to recast or whatever, but I mean, on the off chance he's found not guilty, I guess they could keep him, but now it's official, so now they really do have to pivot their plans, and who knows what they're thinking. Just recast Kang is what they should do.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But I don't really know what to give this. It stinks. I wish
just do a Bergeron because it's like middle of the road. I mean, I guess it, Bombadil, that Jonathan Majors did bad things. The Bergeron for just the whole situation, I guess. I don't know with Disney and everything. Hard one to grade.
Don't do bad things.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll stick to one side on this.
There we go.
Other kind of negative movie news is for Scream VII, Christopher Landon, the director, has officially dropped out following the two leads leaving. And he announced this on Twitter by saying, "I guess now is as good a time as any to announce I formally exited Scream 7 weeks ago. This will disappoint some and delight others. It was a dream job that turned into a nightmare, and my heart did break for everyone involved, everyone. But it's time to move on. I have nothing more to add to the conversation other than I hope Wes's legacy thrives and lifts above the din of a divided world. What he and Kevin created is something amazing, and I was honored to have even the briefest moment of basking in their glow."
Yeah, Bombadil, this movie's a train wreck now.
At this point, I'm like,
don't make this movie.
Yeah, either don't make it, or if they're probably going to make it, but it's going to be like just new characters and just probably basically a reboot again, probably is what I would
Don't
think.
make this movie. Do not make this movie for another at least 5 years.
Yeah.
Bombadil.
Yeah, just let it rest for a while, okay? Scream 5 and 6 are both good, and it's a shame what's happened with this one. So other news, Jimmy. Prime Video is apparently getting ads.
Yes, just what we wanted. Brokaw. I want more ads in my life.
So if you subscribe to Prime Video, apparently there's going to start being limited ads on streaming unless you pay an extra $2.99 a month, which just sucks. The reason I bring it up here is because sure, like there's other ad supported tiers on like Netflix and HBO and stuff. But the difference with those is like those are like added after, and this is like now it's just changing your subscription to ad supported, and now you have to you have a price jump of $3.
Yeah, those are seemingly added as a cheaper tier.
Yeah,
although I don't know, they're all getting out of hand.
It is.
The bubble is bursting hardcore.
And honestly, I mean, not that I've really talked about Prime Video too much, but the positive with that one was it was always just, part of Amazon Prime. And so if you had that service already, it was just like fine, however much that is a year, $100 a year, but that includes the video service and everything. But now you've got this extra payment you have to do and everything. I don't know. Now you can't even defend that anymore.
It's
very stupid.
Bombadil streaming services are a mess.
Yeah, too expensive. I don't have the money for them. So the podcast ain't paying for it. So
no, yeah.
Anyway, final piece of news. Mickey Mouse has officially entered the public domain, sort of. As of January 1st, Steamboat Willie, which is the original Mickey Mouse cartoon, has entered the public domain. That being after the kind of 95-year period of which you can own that copyright. From what I understand, it's only like these versions of the characters that are in the public domain. So like the three, like Mickey, Minnie, and Pete, I think are all in the short. Only those versions of those characters can be used.
Who's Pete?
He's like he's like the in the short. He's like the steamboat owner, but he's a reoccurring Disney character. Have you seen a Goofy movie?
I did a long time ago.
Okay, he's like the other dad in that.
Okay.
He's like kind of the big burly. He's always like a mean guy in Disney cartoons. He's in a lot of them, but one of the reasons I wanted to bring that up is because within hours of the new year, we got a horror game and 2 horror movies announced with this. The game is seemingly mid-development. It's called Infestation 88 and seems to be some sort of co-op horror experience. And the 2 movies, one is called Mickey's Mousetrap, very clever. is an already filmed movie that released a trailer. I didn't watch it though because who cares? Probably bad. And then a Steamboat Willie like actual horror movie is in the works, but not as far as I know that hasn't been filmed yet. So great, good stuff, right, Jimmy?
I don't know what to do here. I'm in favor of things entering the public domain.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, after a while, I'm glad that Disney is not exempt from this. It seems like they basically changed copyright law over the course of the years, so they avoided this situation long before this happened.
I did this whole like paper in college about it. Maybe I've talked about it on the podcast before, but it was initially just like, I don't remember if it was like as low as 50 years, maybe even lower than that. But it's just been like over the years, Disney has been like pushing it through like copyright law changes through like legislation and stuff. To the point where now it's 95 years. And now
which is hilarious because Disney animated films like got such a big boost off of public domain works.
Yeah, most of them are a lot of the older ones especially are based off of public domain works. But yeah, it's just always been kind of crummy that's kind of been pushed back so far. But now it's finally caught up to them. Seemingly, they either can't or have just given up on doing anything more about it. 95 years. I mean, it's still like it's just so long. Like so many things are just going to be like you're not going to be able to do anything with them for so long. I think I saw that like I think 10 years from now is Superman entering the public domain,
something like that. Yeah.
So. I don't know. Steamboat Willie was 1928, so yeah, that checks out. I don't know. Public domain, I think, is just a net positive in general. Anything entering it is like always good. I see things that like, whether seriously or not, people see like this Mickey Mouse Trap trailer that they post like, well, public domain is not good because you get stuff like this. I'm like, well, yeah, you get the initial wave of this, but then it can be, people will actually take the time to make interesting things with it.
Yeah.
Just overall. So for me, public domain, it's a brokaw. This crap that seems to be being made. I guess we'll see how it turns out. It won't pass judgment. Bombadil though.
Brokaw, public domain, Bombadil, all the crap. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Anyway, that's it for news this week. I mean, even though we took a week off, there wasn't a ton, I just assume, because it's Christmas season and everything. So ultimately, I guess not a ton was lost by waiting a week. So, aside from, and I don't think there's any, do you remember any gaming news? I didn't write anything down.
There was a huge Insomniac leak
That's right.
For the
we could talk about that briefly.
Wolverine. I did not look at any of it. So.
I didn't. I saw it happen. So yeah, I guess from what I'm aware, Insomniac, the game studio that made like the Spider-Man games, Ratchet and Clank, all that, they had a big leak happen in regards to, I mean, it was a lot of like employee information and all of that. I think some people got doxxed and whatnot, but like the big kind of public thing was like a really pre alpha build of Wolverine that got released.
Didn't essentially the entire story get leaked?
It was, I don't know if it was the entire story. I did get something spoiled for me that of course I won't mention because I just saw it happen to get shared on Twitter. I didn't watch any gameplay or anything, but just annoying people posting spoilers. But there was at least something big that was spoiled. But it was a lot of like gameplay, like test footage, environments and stuff. I mean, it all looked very rough. You had people talking about how crappy it looked, but you also have like the leaked announcement date. I think it was 2025 or even 2026. Like it's still a ways out. I can't remember what. Like there was a whole like schedule that also got leaked about what they're making and everything. Like there was I think a new Ratchet and Clank game. I don't know, but yeah, it's still a ways out. So if you have seen that footage, take it with a grain of salt. It's not really representative of the final game, probably. So
as far as you know, Holden.
As far as I know, maybe they're just going to take it how it is now and just throw it out in a few years.
Their track record is just so awful at Insomniac.
Yeah.
They haven't been just cranking out consistently great games over the last decade. Yeah, bad. Apparently it was like this person hacked them, said, give me $2 million in Bitcoin or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah,
leak this. And they're like, no. So then they did.
Yeah.
Wow.
Insomniac came out with like a statement just saying, hey, like this sucks.
Not cool, man.
Yeah. Essentially saying not cool, man. But hey, this is, we've got a lot of cool things in the work and anything that was revealed is, not in a finished state at all. So I don't know.
Doing it with the employee information really is bad.
That's honestly the worst part. It's not what got the most publicity, just because people are more interested in the Wolverine game, I guess. But that does suck.
How about you just make your money legitimately?
Yeah,
Bombadil.
Yeah, Bombadil here too.
There we go.
That's it for Tom's this week. A bit rough, especially at the start, but we're back in it.
That was a lot of Bombadils. Holy smokes.
As I was like writing down all of this stuff, I'm like, this is just kind of a downer week. And then you added the Insomniac thing, and yeah. Woo.
I don't remember our Popeyes experience really. I felt like
either.
it was very mediocre.
I don't think there was much that happened. We did it at the other Popeyes that we don't usually go to, just because of how times worked out with the movies again. But I feel like that Popeyes is just like less notable most of the time. I feel like there's just less going on there. So that's probably it.
All right. Well, let's talk about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. That's going to be a trivia question in like 5 years.
What was Aquaman 2 called?
What's the subtitle?
Yeah.
All right. This is our non-spoiler review for if some reason you haven't seen it yet and you maybe want to watch it. Here's our non-spoiler review. Mm-hmm.
All right, Aquaman 2 and the Lost Kingdom. Where's your synopsis, Jimmy? You're usually on the ball with this.
I'm off my game. Well, usually you just say Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, and then you kind of just start trying to think of something to say, and I'm just like, hold on, I can just give this.
Well, at this point, I'm into this. So
all right. After failing to defeat Aquaman the first time, Black Manta wields the power of the mythic Black Trident to unleash an ancient and malevolent force. Hoping to end his reign of terror, Aquaman forges an unlikely alliance with his brother Orm. Would not have been able to tell you that was his name. The former king of Atlantis. Setting aside their differences, they join forces to protect their kingdom, not the lost one. That's a different lost one, right? And save the world from irreversible destruction.
Yeah, Atlantis is a kingdom that is lost to humanity, but it is not the lost kingdom being referred to in the title. So this one's directed and story by credit James Wan, once again from the first movie. This movie blows. It's here's the thing. So I came out of this and Aquaman 2 honestly might be more I might like it less than The Flash, which I really don't like The Flash, but the very least I can give The Flash is that it tries different things a little bit, and I don't think most of it works. But this movie is like the most by the numbers, just boring movie ever. There's like nothing surprising in this movie at all. There's nothing really going for it much. It feels like Aquaman 1, as stupid and corny as it is, has a lot of personality. James Wan has put a lot of his personality and really cool directing, like camera work in that movie. It feels like there is just no passion and energy behind this movie, and it feels like James Wan is people are talking about Jason Momoa phoning it in. I feel like James Wan is the one phoning it in the most in this movie. Just does not seem to care at all about what he's making here, which. Granted, by the time this movie was probably put into production, I'm sure there were at least rumors of the DC reboot happening. So, maybe just kind of lost interest through that. I don't know.
There also may be a lot of studio interference. I don't know. This movie is not great. I was asleep for probably at least 25% of this movie. It was so dull. There's a moment where Aquaman's falling asleep on his chair, and Holman says, "Hey, look, it's you." And I was in the exact same state, falling asleep in the chair.
And what was funny was that was towards the beginning of the movie too. And I was like, I said that as like a joke, and I looked over and I was like, I could tell you were falling asleep. This was within probably the first 15 minutes. I'm like, Jesus, Jimmy. You just had your soda too. No excuses, Jimmy.
Well, I thought the music was actually pretty good.
It was okay.
Rupert Gregson Williams, who I'm assuming is related to Harry Gregson Williams.
He did the first film score, I believe, too.
I cannot find out. he's related or not. Because there's another Gregson Williams, isn't there?
I don't know. Doesn't sound familiar to me, but I believe you.
Maybe I'm just thinking of the same Gregson.
No. He is the younger brother of Harry Gregson Williams.
Younger brother. There we go.
Huh.
So there we go.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, music was fine from what I remember. I don't really remember anything about it.
I liked Patrick Wilson.
Yeah, he's got charisma.
And there's a little octopus guy who's kind of cool, but he doesn't do anything.
Sneaky guy. He does like one thing, and that's it. And
there's some cool little, I don't know, octopus or kraken vehicle things.
Yeah,
I want to say.
Probably the strongest part of this movie for me is the some of the designs of certain creatures and like various underwater things. That was a really strong part of the first Aquaman. At the time, people said it was like kind of derivative of like Wakanda and Black Panther. I don't really think so because I think those movies came out in the same year. I thought there was a lot of creativity just in adapting fish people and like making all these ridiculous looking vehicles. But that kind of carried over to this. Maybe not. It wasn't as central of a focus because this universe has already been established, but it was still there.
Yeah. Wow. This is a goofy movie in a bad way. There's just some goofy bad things that happen that are just the funny moments of this movie are not funny, and the serious moments of this movie are hilarious.
There are some very funny moments in this movie and I remember at least one I'm trying to remember. There was like one in the middle of the movie we laughed really hard at. I can't remember what it was. I just remember the act of laughing. Once again, this was 2 weeks ago.
We're gonna keep this review fairly short, so we're not just stammering on.
There was a part at the end of the movie we can talk about in spoilers. I do remember that was very funny, but I think a lot of the humor comes just from like how cheesy the dialogue is.
It's really bad,
and I would say a lot of the actors don't really sell it in a very funny way. But the actor who plays Black Manta, everything he said was hilarious. I thought.
Joe Mateen.
Yeah. Great actor, love him in like everything he's done. I think he was playing everything so straight in this movie and so seriously.
I'm gonna kill Aquaman's family and destroy everything. I'm gonna kill Aquaman and destroy everything he loves, or something.
Yeah, that was in the trailer. That was very funny in the trailer. But there's just
several lines like that.
Yeah, just several moments where he's like talking about how much he hates Aquaman. There was one moment you laughed at, which in hindsight I thought was very funny, but it was a flashback to the first movie where like you see Black Manta's dad like dying, and he's like, "No, son, you have to go so you can kill Aquaman," or something like you have to live so you can kill Aquaman, or something like that. And you were like dying, and I was like, "Yeah, that is a funny line." It's so stupid, and the issue I think. The first movie is full of that, and I think it's a lot funnier in that movie. This movie, I feel like no one was selling it as earnestly. It just didn't feel as like genuine. I guess.
There's a moment at the end of the movie where Patrick Wilson's character literally just says like every character growth thing.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. Yeah,
it's just like, well, now that you actually are a leader and you put your family first, and you like, I don't know, all just the most generic character arcs.
And it went on for a long time.
And he just spews out like every generic hero arc you could ever think of. Mm-hmm. He just lists them basically over the 30 seconds and like compliments Aquaman.
It kept going. It kind of felt like parody at a point. Yeah, it was very funny. In general, another thing that I think was really good in the first movie that wasn't in this one was the action. I felt like there's like a fight scene towards the beginning of the first Aquaman movie that a lot of people like to reference that uses James Wan's like crazy camera movements, very well choreographed, probably full of CG, but it looks pretty good. And I feel like a lot of the other fight scenes in that movie are at the very least very entertaining, very interesting, kind of like that. In this movie, just none of that energy is there. I felt like aside from maybe a brief moment towards the climax of the movie, it was just very generic, people punching each other in boring ways and throwing a trident occasionally. I don't know. Was not interesting in this movie.
I just cannot remember. I remember very little of things that happened to this. I fell asleep for 25% of it while I was watching it. Mm-hmm. this is just a see it and forget it movie.
Absolutely. And it's the last movie. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you know, but it's the last movie in the DCEU too. And it's just a thud, just so boring. No one's going to remember this being the last one. Everyone's probably going to think of like The Flash as the end of the DCEU. And meanwhile, it's this boring Aquaman sequel that no one cares about. Although apparently it is not that it's doing really well. It is doing way better than I expected. It's at like almost $300 million, which I'm surprised because I've not heard anyone talk about this movie. Probably international accounting in that. I don't know. But
I still can't imagine it breaking even with its $200+ million budget.
No, I would imagine not. Other things. One of the things that going into this movie I was interested about, like genuinely interested, one of like only things was Black Manta, who I think is once again goofy in the first movie, but a fun enough villain. I was like, okay, so he's going to be the main villain of this movie. You don't get too many superhero movies where like a villain comes back and is like maybe a minor villain from a previous movie comes back and is a big villain. I kind of like that continuity. That's fun. And I mean, comics reuse villains all the time, so that makes sense. But he's like not the main villain. It's just some like boring magic wizard guy that like possesses him.
Yeah.
And it's just like way less interesting, I guess. Not that I think like Black Manta is that interesting, but I think it would be way more entertaining if he was the villain. I like his laser eyes.
He is a villain, but he's under the influence of this guy.
It like
Satan.
Yeah, essentially just this boring crab wizard
Carbon
guy.
dioxide Satan.
Yeah, basically. There's a lot of heavy-handed like global warming. I mean, it's not even like themes. It's just like in the movie. It's just like, and whatever. Like, it's fine to have global warming messages. I'm all for that. But like, it is very like, all right, ice caps are melting, and it's gonna melt the villain that's gonna end the world or whatever. Very, very obvious, I guess. I don't know. Very silly,
goofy movie. That was not very good.
Amber Heard was hardly in the movie, which I think was kind of expected. I thought it was. I laughed at a part which I understand why you wouldn't have got, but they just like killed Willem Dafoe's character off screen.
Oh,
they say something like, because Willem Dafoe was like Aquaman's mentor in the first movie, and they say something like, "Oh, your mentor died," like. Because it was, I don't know if it was because of global warming or Black Manta, but died for some reason.
Your mentor died because of global warming.
I don't know. The line was very funny, and then they kept bringing him up as like this emotional like thing, and I'm like, it's like no one even remembers this character. People just remember Willem Dafoe was in it vaguely.
I have not seen Aquaman 1. Just a reminder to the listeners out there. I've said it other podcasts, but not great. Anything else? Can you give a rating? Let's move on.
Yeah, rating for this, I'll give like a 3 out of 10, I guess. I don't know, just not very good.
Save your money. Don't see this movie unless you really, really like Jason Momoa and you were like, the trailer looks fun. I want to see that. Otherwise, it's still, even then, wait for it to come on streaming or something.
Yeah, no reason to watch it in theaters. I mean, you're probably not going to anyway, so.
It's too bad. I love James Wan, so
yeah, it has a lot of pieces that should work. It just felt like no one cared, including even like Jason Momoa, who previously has seemed pretty passionate about Aquaman. So I don't know.
But yeah, there we go. Let's talk about spoilers for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
Yes. All right, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom spoilers.
The baby does the talking to the fish.
I forgot about that. That's right. That was one of the things we were laughing at. It looked so dumb.
The effect looks very silly.
Yeah, and it's just it's such a silly concept. They kept doing it. Like they did it at the beginning of the movie. The scene like went on too long. It just kept doing it. Just the circle coming out talking to the fish. Kind of in like classic.
That was a terrible Temuera Morrison.
But it's like classic Aquaman. And I mean, that's how he did it in like old cartoons and comics. I don't know if he did that in like the first movie. Just, I don't know, whatever. But the classic circle going out talking to fish. And then it happens like later in the movie, just like randomly. And I don't even think it was of like any consequence. And I thought it was so funny when it came back in the movie. I was like, oh my gosh. And it was, I mean, obviously it's like a little baby. So you're direction for that is going to be hard in any case, but it just looked like the baby was like looking around, but also like talking to the fish. It was so dumb looking. The baby pees on Aquaman.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Very funny.
All the
Very
time.
funny.
Several times.
Yeah,
right?
it was funnier each time it happened, really.
Got in his mouth.
Yeah. Ooh, gross. This kid, he said something like, oh, this kid's a shooter or something. Wow.
The baby lives.
The baby does live.
Despite rumors.
And
of the baby
Tamara
dying.
Morrison lives.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that neither of them died. Honestly, I'm disappointed that neither of them died.
Bacta tank.
Yeah, so there were the early rumors that like test screenings went really poorly, and partially because the baby dies, which, you know, who knows? Maybe that did happen. There was a quick reshoot
I was
or
told
something.
that happens in the comic that this is based on.
Oh, okay, so maybe that's where that comes from. But I think that would have just been way more
If Zack
interesting.
Snyder would have directed
He
this,
would have
that-
killed the baby.
That baby would have blown up by a grenade in slow motion. In the extended cut.
There was a moment in this movie, and I don't remember what it was, but I almost leaned over to you, and it felt like
Batman would have pulled out a gun and shot that baby in the face.
No, there was a moment in this movie, and I can't remember. Like I said, I can't remember what it was, but it reminded me of, like, we reference it several times. The Velocipaster, the lady getting blown up by the mine. Adelaide, yeah. I can't.
Hilarious.
I cannot remember. I just remember thinking that and almost leaning over to you, but I think you might have been asleep. Anyway. They did a callback. There was like this ongoing bit in the first Aquaman movie where there are several conversations in that movie, like exposition, whatever, like, and it's just interrupted with an explosion. And it happens like 3 or 4 times in that movie. It is very funny. And apart, like, it felt like it wasn't like it wasn't aware it was doing that either. It felt like it was just doing that. Very funny. It just to keep the energy up, I guess. In this movie, it happens once, and then Jason Momoa's like, I hate it when that happens. And I was like, okay. So he's at least aware of the joke now. Black Manta inexplicably just has a huge crew of people to build this stuff.
And that one guy who's like, I don't like this.
Randall Park, who's also in like WandaVision and stuff. Yeah. Asian Jim in The Office.
Yeah.
It's whatever. I mean, it was very silly that he has this big group of people. I guess very comic booky that way. He's just a pirate though. Like prior to getting the black like trident, he's just a pirate. So.
And then what was the material called?
Orichalcum.
Orichalcum. Just ultra greenhouse gas that they're just
that's
burning
so
for no
silly.
reason.
So, Orichalcum, prior to us recording, I had just clicked on it because I had a Wikipedia page, but apparently it is like a thing from like Atlantis lore, like written like Plato wrote about it, or I guess or something. So I don't know. So it's a thing from Atlantis mythology.
Cool.
There you go. But yeah, it's just ultra
Unobtainium.
greenhouse gas. Yeah. Just this green thing, vaguely green, so you know it's greenhouse gas.
Green volcano.
Yeah, green volcano. It looked
Golly, that was such a silly movie.
It looked very much like because I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy. It looks a lot like the kind of big called Mako in that, where essentially the material in that they've got like this big reactor in those games that's filled with green stuff. So it felt like almost very inspired by that.
So my understanding is that it's what is it called, the Black Trident? Mm-hmm. That has this weird demon guy in it.
Yeah, it's like it's magic. It's this ancient king of Atlantis, or like so. There used to be 7 kingdoms underwater, I guess. And this one guy wanted to be the best king, I guess, and so he made this trident that made him evil. Or something.
Sauron.
Yeah. It was very Sauron-esque, even in like kind of design-wise, but way dumber.
And then, so he wants to retake over the world, but he needs the world to be destroyed by carbon dioxide gases.
It's like...
He needs to be hot. He needs it to be like hell on Earth, right?
I don't think it's even that. Maybe it's like that. I from what I understood, it was just to like so he could melt out of the ice.
Oh, okay.
Like they
Well, that
literally
seems, I don't know. I thought it was like for his species to survive or something.
maybe.
I
But
mean, I
he
was
got-
asleep for
what I do know, he got like the old king of Atlantis put him in the ice or whatever. They trapped him in the ice so the stuff would stop. And I think the only reason they found the black trident that they give in the movie is because of global warming, and that section of ice or something had like melted away. And you're looking at this now, maybe you'll find something else, but at least the start of it was to just melt him out, because I don't think they even knew exactly where he was. So just melt ice caps. Maybe it was to make him live better and raise the water level. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it was just melting the ice caps, because that's dumber. So
I don't know. I can't find it.
Whatever. Yeah, it doesn't even matter.
It's silly. And then the guy like starts melting. He melts out.
Yeah.
And he just dies.
He just
right
dies
away.
Yeah, that was. I feel like every year you have an entry into worst like comic book movie villain. This is a strong contender here. Literally does nothing and just dies immediately. So
Which was in of itself hilarious.
it was very funny, because he just gets out and he's just like screaming, like his arms are in the air, and then Aquaman just throws his trident and stabs him.
Does he not at least like catch something first?
He catches one of the tridents,
And then he throws it through the other trident?
yes, that's right. So dumb. Yeah, I forgot about that. So it's does he? I can't remember. I think he catches the black trident. I can't remember. And then Aquaman, throws his trident, which just breaks it, goes right down the middle, shatters it, and somehow kills him. So it was really stupid.
Yeah.
I was really hoping. So you have Black Manta. He abducts their baby because apparently, so it's like the bloodline of Atlantis can like unlock and free this guy, this evil guy. And so he takes Aquaman's baby to kill it. I was really hoping he'd kill that baby. I was like, that would make this movie way more interesting than it is. But I mean, of course they didn't have the guts to do that. And maybe it's horrible for me to want the baby to get killed, but it's something
At
different.
least something would have
some
circumstance would have happened.
Yeah. Instead of just the baby getting abducted and Tamara Morrison like dying, but then coming back to life in a Bacta tank.
Golly. What a silly movie.
Another thing. So
Remember when Patrick Wilson eats the bug?
very funny.
And then he eats another. He puts the same bug that was from this like tropical island
that's
into
right.
this burger.
Well, it's just like, so on this tropical island, which is getting affected by the orichalcum, apparently, there's just like weird big creatures, which you only see like one of them. It's a very little consequence of the movie. And inexplicably, like they just find roaches that are just normal roaches, whatever.
The plants are eating the big bugs, right? Isn't that a thing that happens?
Maybe. Sounds right. I don't know. But yeah, it just finds normal roaches and then eats them in the post-credits scene, which is the final shot of the DCEU. Him eating a roach on a burger. He's like, yum.
Roach.
So I was going to mention Tamara Morrison is Aquaman's dad, obviously, but in the Nicole Kidman is his mom. And I think while it's not like super fleshed out, I think part of the heart of the first movie is their like relationship. There's like a whole prologue of the movie of them like meeting for the first time. And then kind of at the end of that movie, they reunite because she had to go away for but it was just this kind of cute, storyline in the first movie. And in this movie, they like do not interact at all. And when Tamara Morrison is dying, I'm like, okay, Nicole Kidman has to have this like sad moment, I'm sure. And it just does not happen. She is there, but there's never like any shot of her like having her own little moment or anything with Tamara Morrison. There's no connection there in this movie, I guess. I don't know.
What a silly movie. Anything else to even worth saying? Just silly. nonsense. I can't believe we've talked about it for this long, honestly.
I guess one more thing I do want to bring up is on kind of more the side of the positives. I do think like Jason Momoa and Patrick Wilson have pretty good chemistry in the movie.
Like them. Like, I would like to see them in another movie.
Yeah, they were fun. Like Jason Momoa is obviously the more boisterous one and everything, energetic, and Patrick Wilson's more kind of reserved, but still has that charisma. And so I think that was pretty good. Like Patrick Wilson's character, I think, is maybe the most interesting one in the movie. Not like it's, I mean, that's not comparing much. Not many of the characters are that interesting, but like his character in the first movie, he is the villain. He wants to take over. He is in control of Atlantis, wants to stop Aquaman from controlling it. But he is ultimately, he's doing what he thinks is right for like Atlantis and going to war with the surface world. He thinks they're polluting the ocean and everything. So he has his reasons.
This does seem very similar to Black Panther.
No, like Aquaman does have a lot of similarities there. But then in this movie, you like find out that like, I mean, he's like Aquaman hates running Atlantis and he's not particularly good at it either. And then Orm is just like, you suck at this. Like, why are you like... You know, I didn't want you in control of it because I knew you'd suck at it. And I think, you know, that's an interesting dynamic, but I don't know. That's kind of grasping at straws, I guess. But I don't know.
Remember when he says, I'm Aquaman?
Yeah, at the end of the movie.
That was bad. Thought that was awful.
That was pretty dumb. Doesn't everyone know he's Aquaman already?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like the world knows who he is. He like helped the Justice League.
I don't know. I have no idea. Hold on. But it was like, I am Iron Man. But he was just like, I am Aquaman.
Like, okay.
I'm like, that's not even the same universe.
No, it's not. It's like, it's
that was
kind
not
of a weird.
That moment was not earned.
It was like a weird, like tongue-in-cheek reference to that, I guess. But yeah, like there's not the same. There's not the same context at all. It's so dumb. Like I said, I'm pretty sure everyone already knows he's Aquaman. No one knows. Like, okay,
or do people even know who Aquaman is?
Well, let's dive into this a little tiny bit more because like. I like part of the purpose of in that first movie is like everyone knows who Tony Stark is. He's like Elon Musk basically in this world. He's a big tech celebrity. And then people find this like robot guy. And so this revelation makes more sense. No one knows who the heck Arthur Curry is. Like he's just this drunk who lives in like a lighthouse. And no one like maybe like some people know who Aquaman is. I don't know. I'm ranting about this moment that doesn't
Do you even
matter.
know who Stephen Curry is, Holden?
Yeah.
Who is he?
Basketball player?
Oh, you got him. Good.
He's brother Aquaman, right? I couldn't tell you what team he plays for, though. So
The Golden State Warriors.
Okay, good to know. I will not remember that.
Okay, that's okay. I mean, I was impressed that you knew who he was.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I think that's good for Aquaman, too.
Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Cannot wait for all the random trivia questions about this movie.
Oh yeah, that'll probably have some interesting stuff there, I bet. But I don't know.
There we go.
Behind the scenes.
All right, let's go on to our non-spoiler review of Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon Part 1, Child of Fire. Right, and that is what it's called.
Child of Fire, I believe. Yeah.
There we go. All right, coming at you right after this.
All right, Rebel Moon, Part 1, Chapter 1, Child of Fire, directed by and written by Zack Snyder. What's the synopsis? We'll even show it.
Where do we not have a synopsis here? What's going on?
I could just
wait. Okay, what? Nothing? You got anything?
I mean, I could just read what this says here. So the film is set in a fictional galaxy ruled by the imperialistic mother world, whose military, the Imperium, threatens a farming colony on the moon of Velt. Korra, a former Imperium soldier, ventures on a quest to recruit warriors from across the galaxy to make a stand against the Imperium before they return to Velt. Yeah, that's pretty good.
What's the plot synopsis of Seven Samurai? A samurai answers the village's request for protection after he falls on hard times. The town needs protection from bandits, so the samurai gathers 6 others to help him teach the people how to defend themselves, and the villagers provide the soldiers with food. A giant battle occurs when 40 bandits attack the village. Oh, wait. Holden, that's Seven Samurai, not
man.
Rebel Moon.
That's embarrassing, Jimmy. How did you make that blunder? Okay. This movie sucks really hard. I hate this movie a lot. This is
okay.
Let me say this.
Before we get the hate from all the Zack Snyder people, I think I enjoyed watching this movie. I think the third act is by far the worst part of the movie. I think it's pretty I watched it in 3 chunks.
Okay.
3 45-minute chunks, which I think is the way to do this, because otherwise I think this movie would be boring after a while. But I was entertained. I did enjoy some of the actual original things from it. But with that being said, this movie is just everything Zack Snyder likes in one movie. And it's not subtle at all in terms of we're just taking things from other movies that I like.
So we have the joke on the podcast. I'm a Snyder hater, and this is not going to
I'm
help.
a Snyder enjoy. I am not a Snyder fanboy at all, but I'm a Snyder enjoy. I think his movies are better than people give them credit for. Like, so I enjoy his movies. I don't I like 300. Yeah. It's not like it's my favorite movie of all time. I enjoy watching his ridiculousness. I kind of just approach Zack Snyder as like Bollywood. I'm not going to take this the problem with Zack Snyder is here's what Bollywood works, because it doesn't take itself seriously.
Yeah.
Zack Snyder is like if Bollywood took itself incredibly seriously.
I could agree with that. And I think it's a big flaw with a lot of his movies is it is taken so seriously. And that's absolutely here. I
think there is enjoyment to be had with this movie, but you have to shut off your brain. Like, there are things that just like, this does not make sense.
Yeah.
These character motivations don't make sense. And again, maybe the director's cut will fix all this. I don't hate this movie. I enjoyed this movie. I think it's very visually incredible. Even though I've heard a lot of people say they don't like it visually. I like it visually. I think it looks cool. I think some of the action is there's a little bit of action. It's like, ooh, this is a little Zack Snyder. Like, dude, you're better than this.
That's what I don't get. Like, I don't even see for me like the positive things I see in the movies I don't like of his. Like, I might be willing to say this is my least favorite Zack Snyder movie. Even if we were to count like Whedon cut Justice League, I might like this more than that.
You might like Whedon more than this? Is that what you meant?
Well, if we were to count, because like he's credited as director on the Whedon cut is what I mean. So if we were to count that as a Snyder movie, I might like that movie more than this one is what I'm saying.
Yeah, okay.
So out of all of his movies he's credited for as director, I think this is my least favorite. This movie I don't think has like anything that like his other movies, like I said, that I don't really typically enjoy, like that they have that are positive. I don't think this movie has. I think like I do enjoy, what is it, Dawn of the Dead. I like his Watchmen movie, but I don't know. This just feels like pure Zack Snyder, and no one did anything about it. Like no one was there to rein him in at all. I think we may have talked about this on Army of the Dead, but for like this movie and that movie, and maybe I can't remember what else, if it was any movies before that, he started like doing his own cinematography on his movies. So he's credited as cinematographer. I think this movie looks like crap, just utter dreary crap.
See, I disagree.
Personally,
I think it looks great. I think it's like this movie is very beautifully storyboarded and stuff. It's got all the Zack Snyder slow motion that you could ever want. This movie, if it didn't have slow motion in it, it would be an hour long.
Oh my God. So I think I was like, and I don't know if I've like come to this realization before. If I had, I'd forgotten. But like with Zack Snyder, the problem with his slow-mo, and absolutely here, is he uses it like not to accentuate anything interesting. He just uses it to accentuate any like whatever. It seems like almost at random. And there's certain bits that don't have slow-mo that I'm like, why are you not doing slow-mo here? This would make way more sense. So to accentuate a bigger moment. But in here, it's like just at random, seemingly. It's like he just would like, he would just slow down random chunks of footage or whatever. I don't know. It felt very like without purpose to me.
See, I don't think so. I think he did a lot of this on purpose. Like, there's very clearly things that he had storyboarded from the get-go. I don't know. I think the movie works for me visually. I just disagree with people. I'm like, there were several times I'm like, oh, this looks cool. And I think the slow motion is just like, hey, this looks cool. And it's very self-indulgent. And Zack Snyder is very self-indulgent. So I don't know. I think it's more of a style thing. If you subjectively don't like it, I get why people are annoyed with it. But for me, it's like the lens flares in the Star Trek J.J. Abrams movies. Like, is it a little ridiculous? Yes. I don't know. I don't have that big of a problem with it.
I think ultimately where my gripes come from visually with the movie is I just think like the art direction is so bland with like, I don't think any environment or like ship or like creature or anything looks like cool or original.
I don't know. I think there's this cool scorpion type device. So I think it's pretty cool looking. That works for me.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that part's all right.
I really like, they didn't dive into them deeply in this first part, but the scribes, which are these kind of more like, I don't know, like religious-esque looking figures that follow Admiral Pride, the bad guy, around. They're kind of just in the background. They don't get a ton of play in this. I think the concept of them, there are things within this world that I think are cool, but it's like those are just kind of little, sprinkles on top of this amalgamation sundae of like, here's a scoop of Seven Samurai, here's a scoop of Star Wars, here's a scoop of Norway, or Vikings, here's a scoop of whatever.
Yeah,
and it's just like it Gladiator, it's like it.
Yeah, it's a hodgepodge of a bunch of different things.
It's not.
I see the thing. I'm fine with like hodgepodge things because I mean that's ultimately at this point that's how you come up with a lot of original ideas because there's so many stories that have been told already. So if you combine things, that's fine. You take inspiration, but
take inspiration. Yes,
yeah, but
this just is like. Let's recreate the cantina scene from Star Wars, like almost beat for beat.
So I watched this with my dad, and we both really did not like this movie. I don't know. I might have disliked it honestly more than he did. I don't know, but like the cantina scene, we were like watching it, and he was like just basically quoting the beats before they were happening, and then he was like, "Oh, and now like a Han Solo is going to show up." Before like this character Kai had even appeared on screen, and he's like, "Oh, this character's going to show up and give him a ship," and that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, we don't want to go too far into spoilers here.
Yeah.
Even though it's on Netflix, so a lot of you already know that.
This is not really a gripe, but I just want to say it before I forget. The main villain, what's his name?
Admiral Pride.
Every time
Admiral Pride is Rise of Skywalker. Admiral Noble, excuse me.
That's right. Okay, Admiral Noble. Every time he showed up on screen with a shirt and tie, I laughed. It's the dumbest outfit I've ever seen.
He's literally a space Nazi.
Yeah. It's just like, and it's like he has like kind of like an overcoat or whatever. That's fine. He is literally a space Nazi. But there were times where all he had on was like a business shirt and a tie, and it just looked so out of place and like what he was doing.
I thought it was fine. Whoever that actor who plays like the slave guy. So muscular. Did they use CGI to just enhance his muscles? Because his abs were just so defined. Every shot that he was in, like this man must just have the most defined abs anybody could ever see. And I'm not talking about Anthony Hopkins.
No,
who doesn't do anything.
He's on Game of Thrones.
Who is he on Game of Thrones? Oh, you know what? I think he's one of the, no, I don't know.
Kono?
Season 6 through 8.
Doesn't tell me how many episodes.
Man is very muscular. Mm-hmm. That's all I gotta say. The problem with this movie is it's Seven Samurai.
Mm-hmm.
except nobody's character motivation really makes any sense. There's no compelling argument really for anybody to join this team.
No.
And they just go. Here's the structure of the movie. The movie starts. Okay, they have this problem. The Empire comes and says, "Give us your crops in 12 weeks, and otherwise we'll kill you all."
Yeah.
And because they took the scene from Inglourious Basterds. Okay, you know what? That scene is inspired by Inglourious Basterds, clearly, but it is different enough that it's not just the same thing.
It's probably the best scene in the movie.
It's probably the best scene
in the movie.
That would be an example in this movie of good adaptation. All right, here's an idea that Quentin Tarantino did. I'm going to take that same concept. I'm going to actually make it my own thing. Not nearly as good as Inglourious Basterds, but it works. It was not bad. I would say it was good,
considering
but it wasn't great.
So going into this, I didn't really know the plot synopsis. So I didn't really know it was just going to be Seven Samurai again. So I was interested in that scene to see exactly what was going to happen, even though I could have guessed that he was going to, well, I guess I won't say, but
I mean, it's very obvious.
It's very obvious.
It's
yeah.
like,
as soon as the scene starts, you can guess what's going to happen.
Yeah. But point A to point B.
Yeah.
Whereas Quentin Tarantino's, I think, in Inglourious Basterds is much more like, what is going to happen here? And you're not exactly kind of sure what's going to take place.
Yeah.
I just think that the structure of the movie is what I was talking about.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you have that sequence at the beginning, and then from there it's like, oh, I need to go get these other 6 people to join the crew, and it's just they go to this place, there's a scene with the character. It's like, here's this character, then they join the team for no reason. And then that character doesn't do anything for the rest of the movie, and they go to the next place, get another person. It's basically just Gunner, who is Dario Naharis number 2. Because Dario Naharis actor number 1 is
playing the bad guy.
Admiral Noble, which I think he was great. I think Dario Naharis won as the bad guy. He was good. Now, was his character extremely well written? No. I think his performance, what he was given. Yeah. I think his performance was really solid. I think that guy's really good.
He's the bad guy in Deadpool as well.
Ed Skrein. He is?
Yeah, the first Deadpool, he's the villain.
He's great. I want more Ed Skrein in my life.
He's got
a
good,
nice jawline.
Yeah. He's got a good antagonistic face, just resting RBF, if you will. But yeah, I don't know.
Resting bad face.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, every character in this is just so bland and uninteresting. I mean, Noble is probably the most entertaining one, but everyone else, our main character Cora, just I don't care anything about her really. Sophia Boutella is good in other things. I don't think she's very good in this movie.
The Mummy.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know. I guess I can't remember how she was in The Mummy. She's good in Kingsman. But yeah, and the Dario Naharis actor, we can just call him that.
Number 1 or number
2? Who's Gunner. I swear there is an hour of this movie he just does not say a single word. He's more important at the beginning, and then towards the end when he's kind of actually given something to do, I think he says something, but there's a big chunk where I swear he doesn't say anything. Could be wrong. But yeah,
Michael
Huisman. I don't know how you say it.
Or Mikhail Huisman. I forgot how to say it. I looked it up when I made my Zack Snyder video back in the summer, but
yeah. But every other person they go to, this is where I feel like the director's cut could legitimately improve. Granted, I don't know how much it can improve this movie personally, but
the Snyder cut was way better than the Whedon cut.
This is true. But it just felt like there were conversations happening off screen that we never get to see. Characters just know to go to places for no reason. You're not really given any, and the worst one is the lady they recruit on if you've seen the trailer, the lady with the lightsabers. I think that is the worst scene in the movie, maybe. It is in terms of just connecting to the rest of the movie, it doesn't
really feel connected. I don't really get why she joins them.
There's no reason why she joins. There's
I think her interaction with this spider lady is somewhat interesting.
It's okay. It's okay, but it feels like very out of place. We're getting like this random world building for this place we don't care about and we never will go back to probably. And it's just like this random vignette that didn't it was a vignette that in another movie could maybe be used to establish a character and maybe her arc, but we don't get that here. We just have a blank slate like every other character. So it didn't do anything. I don't know.
Maybe they should have recruited 3 people in this movie and 3 people in part 2.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, spend more time on it. That'd make more sense. Yeah, because at this point, I mean, without getting into spoilers, I'm like, is the next movie just going to be a battle? Like, what is the next movie going to be? Feels like it's just going to be a very long fight scene.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, maybe. I could see that. I don't know. What else is there to say non-spoilers? The score was fine. I don't know. I don't really remember it.
Yeah, I don't really remember it either. Anthony Hopkins isn't in this. Jaimin Hansu does literally nothing. He does not do anything.
A man who is pretty notoriously wasted in a lot of things he's in is the most wasted he's ever been in here, probably.
But the best part of this movie by far, Holden, is that Cary Elwes is the king of the universe.
Yes, which was very funny. You messaged me. I'm like, do I know who it is? I'm like trying to remember, like rack my brain, like who could this possibly be? And I just did not guess it was Cary Elwes. Caught me off guard.
I did not know that he was in this movie until watching it.
And he's almost not in this movie.
He's almost not, but he does say a few things. He's in a couple of these flashback things.
Yeah.
Look, it's a movie. There's also Avatar in this. There's just a scene that's just Avatar as well. With this griffin.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking that too.
But it just feels like a hodgepodge of things that Zack Snyder likes. Which, look, I don't necessarily hate the idea of this movie. It just like it needed to be take those things. I like the world and the idea of the world. It just felt like so like. You know, you couldn't have made it a little bit your own, more of your own, you know? Like, I think, like, the peripherals were kind of cool ideas that Zack Snyder came up with, like, himself. But, like, so many of the core elements are just things from other movies.
See, my problem is, or one of my many problems with the movie is I feel like it's so much a hodgepodge of other ideas and stuff. It's hard for me to like this universe, like at all. It's hard for me to really see any originality that Zack Snyder puts in. And sure, there are little bits, but it is the most derivative sci-fi movie I've probably seen in a long time, if not ever. I don't know. There's just like nothing really going for it for me, personally. You know, before release, when this was getting savage reviews by critics, you'd have people online kind of defending this movie. You know, it's not out yet, could be butchered or whatever, but I'm not really seeing those defenders now, personally. I get the sense that a lot of people aren't liking this movie post watching it. So I don't know. You seem to be on the more positive end.
I had fun with it all.
You know, good for you. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I don't know why I enjoy his movies. It wasn't great. I was like, it's all right. I'm like, if you sit and think about it, you could tear this movie to shreds. Absolutely.
Which is what I'm doing.
I turned my brain off and just enjoyed it. I was like, it looks cool.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's not winning me over to Zack Snyder's whole thing anymore, any more than like his past movies do. I don't know. I think he just really needs someone to rein him in, which, you could say that Netflix kind of did that with the butchering of his movie, but I don't mean like that. I just think he needs like a co-writer or like just...
He did have co-writers, I believe, on this. I think there was written by 3 people.
Okay, well, that's fair. But I think he also needs like someone else to like do the cinematography and stuff. I just don't think... I don't know.
I disagree. I enjoyed it enough. There's a huge thing that I was going to talk about that I almost completely forgot about, but it's more of a spoiler.
Okay.
But I need to fact check to make sure I remember things correctly. But if so, I do think there is like an actual kind of an emotional core to this movie that I think gives me more of an appreciation for it. And if you look through it through this lens, I think you might have a greater appreciation for it too. But something very like close and personal to Zack Snyder, and something that might have impacted the way he might perceive this movie and some of the elements in it. But there's gonna be part 2. I do feel bad that clearly this was like his supposed to be his magnum opus.
Yeah, or what he believed to be. Yeah. Very big passion project.
For it to just, to have like those things in my own, head that I'm like, wow, if I could make this someday and if I could see this to fruition, wouldn't that be incredible? And then to just have that be critically panned, that would be such a hard thing to take.
Well, and to have Netflix just like cut it apart to like essentially cynically make their own Snyder cut. Like, it's so dumb. Like the reason the Snyder cut worked, as a thing was because, his original vision was butchered because of a tragedy in his life and everything. And he had to have kind of the movie taken away from him, and there were a bunch of reshoots and everything. But he had, passionate fans and everyone that clamored behind it. And so that he got his final vision out there for the Justice League. But this, it's like, he doesn't have that same issue. It's literally just Netflix gatekeeping the actual movie for no reason and making the movie worse just so then later on people can watch a better version and maybe reappraise it, kind of like Justice League. I mean, I guess in that case it worked because I feel like more people are positive on that than they probably would have been if just his original vision had come out at the start, I would guess. But it's still just a shame. I don't know.
Wow. He's got 8 children.
Really?
He's got 4 biological kids and 4 adopted children. Wow. Did not know about that.
Interesting.
About Zack Snyder.
Seems like a great guy. I've reiterated that before. Even though I'm not a fan of his movies, wish no ill will on him, and I'm glad he gets to do what he does. But I just am not. I'm not into it personally.
All right. Did you give this or Aquaman 2? I would rather watch this. I had more enjoyment out of this movie.
I'm going to say Aquaman 2. That's how much I do not like this movie. I can't even say like this one is more original because we've been talking about how derivative it is. I don't know. I don't like either movie, so I don't want that to be an Aquaman 2 recommendation there. For me, this is like a 2 out of 10. Oh. I think this is bottom of the year for me.
Wow.
Overall. We'll see if it stays that. Maybe I'll hate an Oscar nom. But
I wouldn't go that far. I don't think it's as bad as people are making out to be. Like a lot of Zack Snyder movies. I have a soft spot in my heart for him because he just seems to really like making movies, and I don't hate his style as much as other people do. It's silly. A lot of things don't make sense. It's not written very well. I do like a lot of I think the performances are actually pretty solid for what people have to work with. I would like to see, hopefully the director's cut can add a little bit more to this.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was unlike Aquaman 2, which was just funny bad. I just think I didn't really have any of that here. With I thought the dialogue was written it's very exposition heavy. It's like, oh, let me just explain this thing through dialogue exposition.
That's most of the dialogue, yeah.
But it's not here's my character motivation. It's the most generic character motivation of all time. It's not that far away from that. There are some of those things in there.
I mean, to be fair though, half the characters don't even have that.
Yeah. So
it isn't really funny bad aside from just, laughing at the various, obvious influences and everything, but most of it is just kind of blah. I guess before spoilers, I should also say a lot of the action scenes do feel like they were cut down for PG-13, I think.
It's just bizarre they didn't just do the Snyder cut version of this.
Yeah, the director's cut supposedly is going to be R-rated, and it felt like there's bits in here that there's probably some blood or something that they just didn't want here. So
I don't know. Here's how I would recommend watching it if you're going to watch it. If you like Zack Snyder, you're going to watch it anyway. Because your Snyder fans are very loyal, passionate. I would watch it in 3 chunks, 45 minutes at a time. That's what I would recommend. Didn't drag that way. Still think the third act is a mess and the weakest part of the movie.
I was surprised the movie was ending when it was. I was like, oh, the movie's kind of ending now. Like it was just like, it felt like the climax was just, oh, the climax is now. Okay.
With that being said, I thought the movie was going to end like 8 minutes before it did. Because it was like, here's a very epic last shot, and then there's still 8 more minutes.
There is just like a big scene at the end. Yeah. No, I'm in the same boat there.
It is what it is. I found enjoyment out of it. It's very, it's a spectacle. And if you haven't seen these other things, if you haven't seen Inglourious Bastards, if you haven't seen Seven Samurai, if you haven't seen Avatar, if you haven't seen Star Wars,
then you can watch this and get a worse version of all those.
Then you may be a little bit more original, some of these concepts. If you have never seen Vikings.
Yeah, Vikings. If you've never seen a Vikings game.
Yeah. Yeah, the Minnesota, good one. Football joke.
Football. I know that. I know some teams.
But I'm going to talk about the kind of emotional core I think that's in this movie. That gives me a greater appreciation for it. But, probably won't change Holden's mind at all. So.
I'm a heartless boy.
So this is going to be a spoiler discussion coming after this. Holden's going to rip into this thing. I'm going to try to defend it a little bit, but not too much. So
yeah, I'm glad you liked it, Jimmy.
Stick around. Stick around if you want to hear that.
All right, spoilers for Rebel Moon. You said I'm going to rip into it. I'm trying to, honestly, I feel like I got a lot of my stuff out in non-spoilers. So, I'll probably think of some stuff. But if you want to, you can start with your little thing here so then I can feel bad about ripping into the movie.
Well, I was going to talk about how, what's Sons of Anarchy guy's name?
Charlie Hunnam.
Charlie Hunnam. His character voted, there was no reason for him to join their team. He's like, I'm an opportunist. I'm like, well, what's the opportunity other than just turning them into the Imperium? That's what you did. What a surprise.
It's a mix of Han Solo and what's his DJ from Last Jedi, but just makes even less sense.
I was like, why did they think that you were going to join them? I get that they have the nice scene where it's like, oh, well, I'm a rebel now or whatever. He's talking to Korra. But I'm like...
He has the one character scene with the main character out of all the people she recruits. And then he's the one that...
And it was just literally just messing with her.
Yeah.
It's just...
It was crucial to have the audience be like, oh, wow, he's bad. Oh, no.
It almost feels like a scene that they could have added in later, too.
Does he die?
I don't remember. I think he does.
I couldn't remember. I was thinking that when we were talking non-spoilers. I was like, I wonder if Jimmy remembers.
I want to say he does.
I'm going to just double check. It's probably on Wikipedia or something. Probably says.
It's a good question.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I think he does, right?
Gunner kills Kai.
Yeah. Seems like a waste of Charlie Hunnam.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Is that... Yeah. Does he shoot her with the neck thing?
Does he shoot him?
He shoot him, sorry.
I think so.
Does? Okay. I do remember that now.
Also, that's not a moment of tension at all when Gunners has to put the thing through car. If you had any other person, literally just have him do a random person, that's a good moment of tension. Because I'm like, he might actually do it. But when it's the main character of part 1...
And Kai's just standing there do it.
He's
standing so close.
Also, why are they doing that? Why don't they just kill them right away?
Yeah.
There's just extra bad space Nazis.
I'm going to tell you, what I'm going to do to your town or whatever.
Yeah. Here's my entire bad guy plan. They do that. A lot of Rogue One in this too, I think.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. Here's the thing I kind of reading through the lines, and maybe I'm just making this up, but I thought part of this movie was kind of like a love letter to his daughter who committed suicide, because you have this Princess Issa character who is this just ray of sunshine in this dark world of despair.
Yeah.
And like it's kind of a motif throughout the movie of her being like this bringer of life and this just wonderful force of good in this dark world, and how like she is taken out of that so unnaturally and so heart-wrenchingly. And I feel like that is coming directly from Zack Snyder's heart. And knowing that, I think I related to that sense of loss. I think that gives this movie an emotional core that doesn't necessarily, like, if you didn't know that, I don't think you would resonate with it. But knowing that, I did feel emotional watching this, just because I get the sense that Zack Snyder was kind of including those parts, and that this Issa character is his daughter. And I think that is very touching, because he's a very emotional, genuine, sensitive guy. I mean, if you watch the stuff. So I thought that was very beautiful in this movie that has a lot of flaws, and that part just tickles the sentimental nature of me. So
sure,
I'm going to be more like kind to this movie. And I also just empathize with the fact of like it's his passion project and people are destroying it. And I don't think it is as bad as people say. So yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents. I'm glad I remembered it, because I was like, I haven't really watched reviews of this, but I haven't heard anybody talk about that. And I feel like I am on to something here, but maybe I'm just making it up.
That could be something. Yeah, I don't know.
But it does, I think, reframe a portion of this movie at least.
Sure. With that being said, let's get back into things I don't like, because man, I want to tear this movie apart, despite what you say, Jimmy. Just kidding. It's fine. Let's see. Anthony Hopkins is a robot and is just not in the movie for most of it.
He gets a flower crown.
Yeah, I thought it was really weird, and I think this kind of ties into something. I kind of meant to mention it in non-spoilers, but this movie is like the 4th part 1 we've gotten this year, or at the very end of 2023, the 4th one we probably got in that year. And to me, it feels like the least like a full movie. Like, I feel like it very much, it could feel like a full movie with 2 parts, but you have like these characters in the town that are introduced at the beginning of the movie, and then they just never come back in any way. Like, you have the one girl who Chorus saves. You have the soldier guy, private guy. You've got the robot.
He's never joins their team.
No, you've got Anthony Hopkins robot. Like it's they feel like characters you're setting up for something, and like there's a weird thing where like the private and they seem to be setting up a romance there with the other girl too, like just based on the way like performances. I don't know. But it just never comes into play in the movie. It felt like they're waiting for that for the second part, but it's just not satisfying in this movie. I don't know. I think Mission Impossible did it best this year in terms of doing the part 1, part 2 thing and having like an actual ending. But I think this one's maybe the weakest in that regard for me.
So we got Mission Impossible. We got Across the Spider-Verse.
And Fast X.
Fast X.
Which, you know, you can make the argument that movie is worse. That's fine. I like that movie more, but I do think it has in general more of an actual like structure, like normal movie structure than this one.
Remember when Cocaine Bear came out this year?
Long time. Knock at the Cabin.
Oh yeah,
that was like same time.
See, Megan seems more recently than all those.
Yeah,
but that was literally like the first.
I think that was the first new movie we did for the podcast this last year.
Yeah. Wow. Weird. What else do you have to say about Rebel Moon, Holden? I like the Scorpion, like I was kind of alluding to in non-spoilers. I like the Scorpion bodyguard capturing things.
Yeah, that was cool. I liked that too.
Don't look in my suitcases, eh? Whatever you do, don't look in them. Don't look in these suitcases. You don't want to know what's in these suitcases. Don't even look and don't even worry about it. We'll just put them out and we'll get out of here.
The guards in that village at the beginning of the movie are just so like cartoonishly evil.
Oh yeah,
it is like it was to the point where I was like almost annoyed, like how evil they were. They were just doing everything bad, like in a very short amount of time. They had like They had like dumb looking outfits on. They looked like the guards from that one planet in Guardians 3. That like Nathan Fillion character. I don't know if you remember. They had like in that movie they had these silly big bulky pink outfits.
I don't remember.
Guardians 3. It looked like that, but it didn't really match the vibe of like the rest of the movie to me. I don't know. That was dumb.
They live in a Viking village.
They do.
They're a bunch of Vikings.
Yeah, it is very much a Viking village. They've
The
got,
leader
like, a
dies.
longhouse. Yeah,
The leader,
MODOK.
yeah, the most dead man of all time at the beginning of a movie.
You could not be more dead than this. Although I said that about Tamara Morrison in Aquaman 2, and he didn't die.
Yeah. So I guess this guy's more dead.
This guy is more dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, very dead guy. That scene that we praised earlier is the best scene in the movie to me. It was at least interesting. It was a play on the Inglourious Basterds scene. The main guy, who I can't, what's his name? Noble, or the main bad guy? I mean, Noble? Admiral Noble. He has a beaten stick.
Yeah.
And every time he came on with that stick, I was like, there he is with his beaten stick. And then at the end of the movie, when Cora's fighting him and it breaks, I'm like, oh no, he can't win because he doesn't have his beaten stick.
He's going to get stabbed with his beaten stick.
He got stabbed with the beaten stick. So
But don't worry, Revenge of the Sith style. They're just going to go grab him.
yeah.
Thought he was going to fall in the lava.
He fell miles to below him probably, and he's fine.
He's all right. I thought their fist fight was bad.
Oh yeah.
I was like, this is not a good action sequence.
No, it was very like, it was hard to tell where they were at any given moment, and which is weird because it's just like this confined little like square space. It shouldn't be that hard, but none of their punches really looked like they connected. I didn't really get a sense for impact of any of them.
She had like Elastigirl arms. I felt like she was not even close.
Yeah, you're kind of right. Yeah,
I felt like she was so far away in landing these punches.
Mm-hmm. That was not very
it
good.
did not work for me, that last fight on that platform.
I love a good, final punch scene. I think that can be very cathartic in a lot of movies, but yeah, it just did not work here.
No.
Yeah, that final kind of whole climactic sequence at that port, wherever they were, that was the moment where I was like, oh, okay, so they're ending the movie now. I didn't feel like it was like properly the climax of the movie until it started going on for a bit. I thought it was very silly that the big ship is entirely controlled by that one gunner on the ship with that one control stick. They're just like you have the one mercenary guy played by
Blood Axe. Ray Fisher?
Ray Fisher, yeah, Cyborg in the Justice League movie. And he just goes up, he sacrifices himself, he stabs the guy, and then he like pushes the one joystick, which just completely crashes the ship.
I don't even think it was intentional. He seems like he dies on it.
I thought
watching it.
That could be. I took it as that was like his one final like act was pushing it, but you could be right. Regardless, stupid that controls the whole ship, or at least enough to completely crash the ship. No way to overwrite it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The scene where he flies the Griffin.
Yeah, just Avatar.
It's Avatar. And then they just leave it behind. Is it going to come back?
That could come in, they could get that in the second part, but that is weird that they just
reminds
leave
me
it.
of the Mandalorian season 3 where they just leave those one bird things behind, like egg baby. Like, are they okay? Like, never comes
I
back.
forgot about that.
And then the Griffin just kills the owner mercilessly. Who could have seen that coming?
Yeah, wow, comeuppance right there, very obvious.
Jaimin Hans, who's a gladiator, they pick him up and he just joins them and then does nothing.
They don't even like fight
and
anyone.
they keep being like, yeah, I thought there was going to be at least a gladiator fight scene that we watched. That has to be in the director's cut. That is, there's no way that they just randomly pick up this guy and they have the arena. They don't even like see anything. It's just, okay, sorry if there's a weird audio cut thing there. We ran out of storage on our camera because I forgot to
format it.
I forgot to erase the previous file, and we talk for too long, so it takes up a lot of space. Anywho,
we're talking about Jaimin Hansu.
Yeah, as a gladiator, and there has to be a gladiator fight on the director's cut, and the reason we would think that it wasn't in this is it was like so violent,
that
you couldn't even made a PG-13 version of it.
But it's still just so silly because clearly at a gladiator planet, and then when I was like scrubbing through it right before this, that scene is so short too, just like on its own. It's bizarre.
I liked the scene with lightsaber lady with the spider lady, because she's like, you guys killed my eggs can't hatch because of global warming. Well, now I'm gonna take your kid, but I thought she just wanted to raise the kid. No, I'm just gonna kill your kid.
Just kill the kid. I thought that initially.
And she's like
too.
vengeance. She's like a difference between justice and vengeance, but apparently she's just on a revenge quest herself. That's kind of what they say later in the movie.
Yeah, I think my issue with the spider scene is it's this interaction that feels very out of place compared to a lot of other interactions in the movie, because it's this weird little vignette. This spider lady comes in and just establishes this planet's like global warming has killed their species or whatever, and it's like this 5-minute scene. It felt very like way too much lore and like stuff condensed into this little sequence that just never comes back into play.
Well, then you just don't get it.
Yeah,
it
could be.
You just can't wrap your head around it. Okay.
Also,
it's genius.
A nitpick that me and my dad had with that scene was, why did she not turn on her lightsabers right away?
That was what I was wondering. I'm like, do they need to charge?
Yeah.
Like, she even gets like stabbed in the arm, and it's like, it like kind of electrocutes a little bit. And she's like, oh yeah, I got lightsaber arms. Forgot when they did that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they can glow. Instead, she was just using like weird sword things
she
before
like
that.
Cuts her spider butt, and nothing happens from that. Like, she doesn't cry in pain or anything. Because like when she gets her legs cut off, she's like, ah.
Yeah.
But she's fine, picks her up, is about to kill her, and then she just stabs her through the gut.
Okay.
I was like, I thought she was like gonna like pick her up, and then like her butt was gonna just like unload guts and stuff.
Her guts just
and then
fall
she
out.
just was but it just doesn't happen.
That is pretty stupid. I didn't remember that.
So I was like, what? Remind me of the Obi-Wan versus Spider thing in Attack of the Clones in the arena, Geonosis.
Oh, it reminds you. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I don't know what that thing's called.
Yeah, yeah. I could see that.
Yeah, it reminded me of that fight. Because I think Obi-Wan cuts one of its legs off with his lightsaber.
Yeah.
Classic Obi-Wan cutting off limbs.
Yeah, that is something he does.
The cantina scene has the moment where it's like, hey, I don't like you or whatever.
Yeah, I don't like you. You need to leave.
And it literally is almost like, instead of cutting off the leg, what does she do to? I don't even remember.
I think she just shoots him.
She just shoots him instead of cutting off the arm, but she like puts I don't know.
Yeah,
silly scene.
Okay, so I think she stabs his hand or something, and then he comes back with like a guy, and I think he's just shot in the head or something.
Yeah. You see, that scene's not like A New Hope because there's a gunfight.
Oh,
so that makes it different.
Okay.
And Han Solo ends bad. So that makes it different.
It makes it different.
It's a subverting your expectations. It's actually really smart.
That is pretty smart. Yeah. It's on another barren planet, this canteen on this just gross, rocky planet. Yeah.
But the capital city of the gross rocky planet.
Yeah.
Where actually people are.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, Han Solo at least has a motivation for helping Luke and Obi-Wan. There's nothing here.
Kai doesn't have any reason.
Nothing. There's just, I'm an opportunist.
Yeah, and as you said, non-spoilers, the opportunity does not make any sense.
What is there to gain?
Opportunity.
Yeah, I'm gonna go fight with you guys and just die.
Yeah,
they literally go around just saying, "Yeah, we're gonna lose, but
we're gonna darn try.
We're gonna put in our best effort."
That's all that matters. A for effort.
And Blood Axe is like, what's his name? Blood Axe, Guy Blood Axe, Ray Fisher is like
Darian Blood Axe. What a cool name.
He's just like, well, if we don't just die for no reason, what is this rebellion all about? I'm like, what? Vladimir Zelensky just going to the front lines with an Uzi. Like, what? Like, makes no sense. That is the worst. Like, if you just go on and do that, it means nothing. You're just handing the victory over to them. But no, we have hope and love.
We have hope. Yeah, and that's all that really counts. Yeah, no, I honestly, out of all of the characters they recruit, and granted he has the least amount of screen time, but Ray Fisher's character may be the worst. Like it's.
And then there's Milius, who comes, who's played by E. Duffy, and Milius is, they're just like the protector. They're like, someone's got to make sure you come back in one piece.
Yeah,
but Milius doesn't really do anything.
Yeah, Milius is just like a random rebel fighter that they like. They made sure to make note of Milius like before you leave, and I was like, okay, this is weird. So clearly, this character is gonna come back and then just replaces Darian at the end, I guess, in the group. Okay, maybe that's the most nothing character, honestly, just with like the least amount of screen time. I don't know.
There's a lot of candidates.
There are.
Boy. I'm just trying to think. Have we not talked about one of the recruits? We talked about Gunner. Gunner just has the guy killed at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Tentacle.
Spider lady.
Tentacle stuff. There's the the space portal is shaped like a vulva.
Yeah, I thought that too. I was like, oh my God. Like, is it because it's the mother planet? I don't know. It also could be completely unintentional. Would not put it past it.
No, that's not unintentional.
You don't think so?
No. No, it's not.
It is pretty obvious.
Vulvular.
Vulvular.
I don't know if that's a good right word for that. Vulva-esque. They should have had a scene, Austin Powers scene for that. But I don't know if there's that many euphemisms. I guess there is.
I don't know.
You know what I'm talking about? The Austin Powers scene where like it's a couple of big nuts, get your nuts here.
I don't remember that scene, but it sounds like an
iconic Austin Powers moments. And then Ozzy Osbourne is like says like whatever it is.
Here's the thing: did we watch all 3 Austin Powers movies? I do not remember a single thing from any of those movies. There's like a Steven Spielberg joke at one point. That's all I remember. Is it him?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I couldn't remember if it was him or if it was
Tom
like someone
Cruise
playing
is
him.
in there.
No, I don't remember that. I just remembered Steven Spielberg.
You don't remember Dr. Evil? I used to think you were crazy, but now I can see your nuts. Oh, thank you. Because he's underneath him in the ladder and his pants rip and he's looking up. I used to think you were crazy, but now I see your nuts.
Oh,
Get it?
nice.
He literally sees his nuts. It's funny, Olden.
That's
it's
pretty
clever.
funny. Okay.
It is. It's very good. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Yes. What are we talking about?
Rebel Moon.
Rebel Moon. Part 1.
Not Austin Powers.
Why isn't it called Child of War? She literally calls herself a child of war.
Yeah, why is the fire there?
Why does she become the guy's like right-hand man? She's just like she's Thanos. She's Gamora.
She's Gamora and then taken and raised as his daughter.
But then apparently this should have been just in part 1, but assuming she is somehow either manipulated into killing Issa the daughter and regrets it, or sees Issa the princess killed in front of her, and it was her Balasari. Is that his name? Balasari or something like that? He's like her adopted father. He's the mean, bad
Yeah, he's the
guy.
emperor.
Yeah.
He's the emperor to Noble's Darth Vader.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to mention, another thing I should have said in non-spoilers, this movie just made me very thirsty. Very dry looking movie. Just very grimy and dirty. And
That's not. See, I think the opposite. I thought it was just the sweatiest.
It is very sweaty.
Very sweaty.
It is very sweaty, but it felt like when like a car drives by and pumps up a cloud of dirt in your face or something, that kind of thing. Like I was like, that's kind of the vibe I got from watching this movie. Just like
Oh, here's the synopsis. Where was that?
what the heck?
What's going on here?
They just put it up because
Just
they
put it
heard us. They're like, oh crap.
Oh, Atticus Noble.
Atticus Noble.
Atticus
Wow,
Finch
name.
Noble. What is that guy's name? I think it's Belisarius. Is it even in here? Yeah, Belisarius.
Okay, so I kind of recognized her. So Darian's sister, Devra Bloodaxe, is the wife in Infinity Pool of Alexander Skarsgård.
Oh gosh, where is that?
Her name's Cleopatra Coleman. I know her from.
Oh, Cleopatra Coleman. Yeah.
Yeah, I know her from Last Man on Earth because she's one of the main characters in that show. But I was like, I kind of recognize her, and then I looked it up. Okay, so
Yep. There we go. That's Rebel Moon Part 1. I don't think there's anything else to say.
no. Do we want to briefly talk about the trailer, or is there anything to say about
the trailer. They come
part
to the
2?
village and they fight.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. They train the villagers with probably just normal weapons or something, and they're gonna beat the Empire
For somehow.
I don't. What I'm wondering is, I mean, I guess like Belisarius or whatever, maybe he'll come too or something. I don't know, but I'm like, I don't understand. This is like this big epic movie where you're clearly struggling against this like big empire. I get the sense that they're going to beat the Empire at the end of the next movie, but I don't know how they're going to do that by protecting a village.
You don't think they are? I think they're just going to win this battle, and then the world is still open. It's just the beginning of this
That could be.
thing. You see, it's smart because it's contained.
Oh yeah,
It's not. There's too many things out there. The fate of the universe is at stake.
But now they're just protecting this village.
It's just this village.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the small victories. It's a new hope, if you will.
Oh, okay. Sure.
There's Rebel Moon. Let's talk about our final segment of the show, which, of course, Holden, is What Are You Doing?
What are you doing? What are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing?
All right, Jimmy. This week, or last 2 weeks rather, since we had a lot of, I had a lot of downtime. I'm sure you had some downtime as well. No, busy with family stuff the whole time.
Yeah, most of that time.
Fair enough. I had a lot of family stuff too, but I also just watched a lot of stuff. I watched various Christmas movies, watched the usuals for me, like Elf, Christmas Story, the first 2 Home Alones. I've added those officially into my yearly watch because I like them a lot. So very good. I watched Die Hard with a Vengeance, the 3rd Die Hard movie, just kind of on a whim because I was looking for something to watch and it was on Hulu. Very, very good. It's the director of the first one returns. Samuel L. Jackson is like the co-lead of the movie. So it's just Bruce Willis and him. And it is like just nonstop action the entire movie. It is insane. And it's a very New York movie. I'm pretty sure it's New York. Maybe I'm saying that and I'm completely wrong, but it's whatever city it's in, very much that city because it feels like they were filming out on the streets and everything for all of it. And Jeremy Irons is the villain too, and he's very good. Very good.
Scar.
Yeah, Scar. Yeah, really liked it. I can see why a lot of people say it's like second best, close to the first Die Hard movie. So recommend that one. I didn't write it down here, but I realized I also rewatched The Nice Guys.
Oh, how was that?
Very good. I remember liking it the first time, not quite getting all the hype. I think this time through, I'm like completely bought in on this movie. Maybe it's because like after seeing Ryan Gosling and Barbie and everything, he is so funny in The Nice Guys. He is like,
I need to rewatch it.
Yeah, it is. He's not like as outlandish as in Barbie, obviously, but like just one of the funniest actors out there, I think.
The greatest living actor.
Yeah.
I've been preaching it for a while now.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're converting.
I've always been on the Ryan Gosling train. Love La La Land, so yeah. I also rewatched a couple movies. I rewatched Babylon because I got it for Christmas. Still so good. Just a banger movie. A banger of a messy movie.
Very messy movie. How does that, was it the first act that ends in just all the craziness?
Yeah, with the where they're on like the film set and everything. It's so good.
Incredible.
I think that the first third is like the best part of the movie, I think, because I love the party a lot too. But I think the whole movie is still very good. And the ending works for me more each time I watch it. I still think, and maybe that's just because it's not as like jarring.
Is that your
as the
favorite
first time.
movie last year?
No. I think Everything Everywhere I like more.
Was that last year or 2 years ago that we watched this movie?
It was last year. Because it was the Oscars. It lost to All Quiet on the Western Front for score.
That's right.
I was very distraught by that. But score is still so good. I also rewatched Across the Spider-Verse because my dad hadn't seen it yet. Very good. No complaints. About the same as how I felt before on it. But other than that, I didn't really watch a lot of TV. Even though I was at home and had a bunch of time, I mostly was watching movies and playing games. So I finished Final Fantasy VII. Very good. It's not surprising there. But I also played, there's a prequel to Final Fantasy VII that came out. It was originally on PSP, but a remake of it came out a couple years ago. It's called Crisis Core. And I played that and already beat it. It's not very long, but it's you can clearly tell it's a PSP game by the gameplay. It's a little repetitive. I like the story. I think it's got like interesting backstory to some of the characters, but the writing is very bad. The dialogue is very cringy. It's like to me it felt like the Final Fantasy VII remake has full voice acting and everything. I feel like they put a lot of time and effort into not only the script for that, but also the translation and everything. Feels very high quality in that regard, if a little cheesy at times, just because it is a kind of cheesy game. But this one, it felt like it was just not up to that par.
Yikes.
And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the script is like completely as it was on PSP, because I think that game also had voice acting. I think they re-recorded it, but I wouldn't be surprised if the script is the same. It's like kind of funny bad though. Like I think there's some very silly moments, and like there's a few lines that are repeated over and over again that me and my brothers have made fun of quite a bit. So if you really like Final Fantasy VII, worth it, because it's not very long if you can get it on sale or something, but it's not crucial stuff. But since then, one of the games I got for Christmas, and one I wasn't really anticipating getting, especially was Psychonauts 2. Which I got, and that's actually the one I've been playing. Very good so far. I really like it. It's a cool, just a very cute, fun game. And I've talked about playing the first one before, but I think it has the same sense of humor and style and everything, and is not afraid to go to very dark places with its subject matter too. It has a lot of like mental illness stuff in it, which the first game too. The first game is like very notorious for having quite like the kiddie outer sheen, but there's like several like secrets and stuff you can find in it that it's like very dark and everything. And this game is kind of similar. But yeah, that's kind of about it for me, Jimmy. What about you? What have you done?
Well, let me pull up my list here. Emily and I finished watching Prince Caspian.
Oh, nice.
Which a lot of people give that movie quite a bit of flack.
I was going to say, I forgot to write it down. I rewatched Landon the Witch in the Wardrobe.
What'd you think?
I liked it.
It's good, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's for what it is.
This honestly, it might have been the night we recorded, because it was a while ago. I almost forgot about it, but it was, I think I should have mentioned this too. Watch the new Percy Jackson show. It's good, whatever. But after me and my roommate Kale had finished that, it just came up and recommended Lion the Witch in the Wardrobe, and we just put it on. It was whatever. It was very good. I think it holds up really well.
Yeah, right? Didn't I say that on the podcast?
You did. Yeah, that's why I bring it up.
I'm like, Greta Gerwig, I don't think you need to do it. Like, I honestly, like, what I feel like that adaptation is actually better than the book.
Yeah, I don't remember the book very well.
So it's like, why? I think the kid actors are actually pretty good in it. Mm-hmm. Tilda Swinton is amazing. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of the effects hold up pretty well. Yeah. Especially considering the movie's from like 2005.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Holds up well.
Especially the third act is pretty good.
It's very good. I think the battle is pretty good. It does at times just feel like people in costumes fighting and in like a field, like very kind of like, it doesn't feel as like grand as like a Lord of the Rings or anything.
I still think it holds up very well though.
I mean, I really enjoy it. There are just a few times where I was like, it's a little iffy, but
I feel like that's what happens in the book though. Is it just a big battle in the field?
Once again, I don't really remember.
I don't really remember either, but I don't remember it being different.
Cast is very good in general.
Very good.
I really like it. Tilda Swinton, so good.
Yeah. What's her name in The Nun 2? Who plays Susan?
Yeah. Yeah. The two things I know are from Narnia and The Nun 2.
But a lot of people give Prince Caspian flack, and I thought it held up pretty well too. Like the Miraz, the villain, is not as iconic or as intimidating as the White Witch, but I don't know. I think that movie's pretty good too. It's a lot more action packed. But yeah, I think those movies have great music as well.
I don't know how he is in that movie, but I really like the actor who plays Prince Caspian. I think he's like the villain in like the Punisher show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think he's just like a very underrated but very good actor. Ben Barnes is his name. I'm trying to think of like other. I feel like there's an obvious thing I'm forgetting that he's in. I don't know. He's in Westworld.
He is.
He's in the first season of Westworld.
Is he the guy in the T-Mobile commercials?
Maybe.
Like, I'm a fancy looking British guy.
That could be. He is British.
He looks. I gotta find this out. T-Mobile. Yes, he is.
Okay.
I did not put that together. But when you pulled up his Wikipedia page, I'm like, it's him.
Yeah, he's very good in Westworld too. So I guess I haven't seen him in like a ton of things, but like Westworld, Punisher, and Prince Caspian, from what I remember, he's very good in all those. So.
Yeah, I did not realize he was in those other things. Prince Caspian, I think it's good. I think the action holds up pretty well in that. Not as bad as other people think it is. But really, hold on, the thing that blew me away was finally getting around to RRR was exceptional.
Nice.
It was just as good as I was hoping it would be, if not even more amazing. You have not seen it, correct?
No, not yet.
Wonderful. That was another thing. I watched that in 4 chunks.
Yeah, it's like 3 hours.
3 hours.
That's like the big thing keeping me from it is just I'm like hardly ever in the mood for a 3-hour movie.
I watched it while working out on the elliptical. Incredible. Just so good. I mean, just unbelievable. Again, it is hilarious. I just giggled because things were so stupendous. It was stupendous, I think is the right word.
Okay.
Ray Stevenson is in it. Our guy, Balin Skull from Ahsoka. He's great. It is just campy as all get out, but it just embraces it so well. I do recommend watching it in chunks just because it's just long. But the music's incredible. The dancing is superb. The action is stupendous. Is the only word to describe it. Wonderful movie. One of my favorite foreign films. Just rises to the top of that list.
I'll have to watch it.
Up there with like Parasite and City of God. And it's just incredible.
Much sillier than those movies.
Just
though.
incredible. Cannot recommend it enough. So many good things. So many good things happening in that movie. And it is just like if Zack Snyder just embraced Goofy.
Yeah.
It is what it is, honestly. With the Bollywood flair.
Sure.
Otherwise, I've started watching the Netflix show Captains of the World, which is about the captain players of the FIFA World Cup 2022 teams. A retrospective of that, which is fun to like look back at that tournament because like, oh, I forgot about these certain upsets or games that happened this way. And I like sports. I got Hogwarts Legacy and Jedi Survivor for Christmas. I played just a teensy-weensy bit of Hogwarts Legacy, like literally like 40 minutes. That's all I've done. Otherwise, a lot of Beat Saber. Did a lot of Beat Saber over break. But that's it for me, Holden.
Nice.
That's all I got.
Well, next week, I mean, we'll probably do most anticipated of the year, right? That would probably make sense. It's kind of a gap week anyway. Throughout January, whether it be next week or subsequent weeks, there's going to be Oscar big movies coming out that are more accessible and everything that we'll probably add to. So that'll happen however it happens. We don't really know yet. But we'll probably do anticipated of the year next year, that being movies, games, and TV shows, as we say at the beginning of every episode. So yeah, if you want to leave us a review, or if you want to leave us a request,
If you want to leave us a review,
yeah.
you could do that too.
Yeah, you could. If you want to leave us a request, you can do so by leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes or email us at tompodcast@gmail.com or donate to our Patreon. And yeah, Happy New Year. Happy belated holidays for whatever you may celebrate. Yeah, good. It was 2023 was all right. It's an all right year.
If you want to leave us any comments on YouTube, any review of the film or our takes or why Holden is wrong about Rebel Moon.
That's okay. I'm ready.
He's a Snyder hater.
Ready. Yeah.
Don't dislike this video just because of Holden.
Yeah. We have someone who is mildly positive on this movie.
Yeah. So, yeah, there we go. Otherwise, yeah, we'll see you next week with our most anticipated. Otherwise, until then, adios, pantalones.
Love you.